Hey guys, Mike here, and before we get into our video today, I just want to let some of you know that might not know that I am actually doing live streaming here on Review Anything. And if you've looked through our videos recently, you can see that I've done a lot of live streaming, and I just want you guys to know that if you check out our playlist section, you can check out all of our videos nicely organized, because honestly, looking through our regular videos is kind of crazy. So, I definitely recommend you guys come in to check out my live streams. They're so much fun. I love talking to you guys. Let's get into our video today. So today, I've been thinking about, games coming out in the future and stuff like that. And I just want to talk about, a couple of games that I would love to see completely rebooted and pretty much brought back from the dead. So today, we're going to go over the top 10 video game franchises that need a reboot. Oh, absolutely.
This drives me nuts.
That's so awesome.
This. What a joke.
That is so stupid. So before we get into this series, I just want to say that there are a couple rules behind the different franchises that need a reboot. And the biggest thing is that these games no longer come out on consoles, okay? So games that have had releases within the past 3 to 5 years can't count. Because, let me tell you right now, number 1 on this list would have been Banjo-Kazooie, but that's a list for another time. But let's get down to our review here. So our number 10 spot to start off this list is a game that I didn't really play too much, but I used to watch my brother play it all the time, and it was unbelievable. Number 10 is Syphon Filter. Now, for those of you who have played this series know that the last game came out in 2007, but I'm talking about the first trilogy, and the reason why I'm doing that is because that's the one that sticks with me the most. And honestly, if I really wanted to get into it, I would say Syphon Filter 1 and 2, but I like the whole trilogy as a whole thing. The reason why I picked 1 and 2 is because those were rated way higher than the rest of the series. I know the whole series was rated pretty good, around C to a B, around that area right there, but I mean, there are a lot of people that love this game. I remember Syphon Filter 2, watching my brother play it. I thought the graphics were amazing, first of all, and I just thought that it was like such a complex game at the time, and I just think that if they brought that back into the world of the current generation of video games, I think that it would be a huge asset to the video game industry, and I really think that they would be able to make great strides and kind of bring back that type of genre of gaming to where it used to be back then. Okay, so our number 9 spot is something that a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, I would have never thought of that. But our number 9 spot is Road Rash. Now, for those of you who remember the very first Road Rash, I used to play it on MS-DOS on my computer, and I remember that it was one of the coolest games because you're like a bad person, like breaking the law racing. You're trying to knock people off of their bikes. You have chains and lead pipes and stuff that you just whack people in the face with. You can kick people off of the things, and you actually punch and hit cops. I was like blown away at this whole world of the game where you're actually a bad person. It's one of the first games that I've ever played where I was like, holy crap, like I'm like the anti-hero, But I just want to say that, the last game to come out for Road Rash was around 2000, 2001, and, I mean, it was on the original PlayStation. I think that if we were to be able to get the remake of Road Rash, which that would just be so cool. And the fact that you could have all of these awesome missions, an open world, whole thing, kind of like, I would say if they were to remake it, it'd be kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but more mission-centered. And the reason why I say more mission-centered is because I think that it'd be like a perfect mix between like a Need for Speed meets Grand Theft Auto, and I think that would just be really cool. So that'd be a great remake to see. Now this next series is one of the forgotten series from Sony that I think really needs to make a comeback, and I know that nowadays Sony kind of focuses on, adult males as their main target, so this game might not fit as well, but at the same time, it's a loved franchise, and I know what you guys are thinking, but I'm going to go a little different with it. I'm going to say Spyro the Dragon. Now, the last release we saw for Spyro was 2006, which was a remake of the original first trilogy, and I mean, I think those games are awesome. I think it's a great IP. I think it's extremely original, and I would love to see that come back, as kind of like the lighter side of PlayStation, you know what I'm saying? Because now it's all like Call of Duty, Uncharted, No Man's Sky. We have all these like serious games coming out. Like, what about the fun games? If they were to bring it back and be like, you know what, here's the lighter side of Sony, well, we can actually have a little bit more fun and stuff like that. And, I just think that, I don't even know what to say now. I lost my concentration. And I know it wasn't really like an exclusive for Sony. I know the first 3 came out for Sony, and after a while it started coming out on GameCube and stuff like that. But I just think that if Sony were to take it back and be like, hey, this is ours now, and like started to put out releases for themselves, I think it'd just be nice. And you want to know what? Even if it did come out for other systems, I think it'd be just a great game to bring back. It's fun. You're this adorable little dragonfly. Like, why not? Why am I blurry right now? Why am I blurry? So, that's pretty much it. Let's move on. Okay, so for our number 7 spot, we're going with another beloved Sony franchise that kind of got away from them at some point. But the next franchise we're talking about is Crash Bandicoot. Now, for anybody who was around in the mid to late 90s, knows who Crash Bandicoot is, because he was one of the most popular video game characters of the PlayStation series, if not the number 1 most recognizable character on a Sony console. And yeah, after a while it started getting releases on the GameCube and even one on the Xbox, and there was even one on the Wii, I believe. But anyways, so I just want to say that this series was so beloved by so many people that a lot of people are actually writing to Sony and stuff and saying, we want Crash Bandicoot back. Honestly, I don't know why they're writing to Sony, because technically it's just like a third-party publisher, but what are they doing with it? They have this intellectual property that was like so big in the 90s, and that it's just gone. Like, the last release we saw that had him in it was in 2010, and I don't even think it was like an adventure game. I don't even remember what it was, because it hasn't been big since it left Sony, in my opinion at least. But I just think it'd be a great franchise to reboot and bring back, and it's fun. It's just fun. Let's do it. Why not? Frig. Okay, for our number 6 spot, this might stir up a little bit of controversy, because as we get later on in the series of this franchise, things get kind of different. But our number 6 spot is NFL Blitz, and I just want to say that the NFL part is the most important part. Basically, the reason why I say that is because in 2005, when Blitz the League came out, they were pretty much just went completely away from the NFL, and the biggest thing with this was they had to get rid of NFL teams and create fake team names and stuff like that, and I didn't like that at all. Like, I wanted to see, like, the normal NFL teams. And it's like, you got games like Madden that are still coming out and stuff like that. But it's like, to me, I love that game, especially the very first one. That was my all-time favorite football game ever made. And it was just so much fun, because as much as you like realism in a game, there's just something about being able to stretch reality and make it something just different from what you would normally see that makes gaming great. And I think that Blitz captured that without getting way too far to the opposite end of the spectrum there. And, they re-released NFL Blitz in 2012 and stuff, but I'm talking about original games. I would love to see a brand new NFL Blitz with original teams, but with new, recent, up-to-date players, but with all the fun, awesomeness of the original NFL Blitz. And I just think that'd be a great game and franchise to reboot. I mean, even if they just made an HD remake of the first NFL Blitz and brought it to our current gen, that'd be awesome. But a reboot of the entire franchise would be even better. But let's move on to number 5. Okay, so we're down to our top 5 now, and for this number 5, this is pretty much a purely personal feeling on this game, because I love this game. I've always loved it, and I still play the original to this day, and that game series is Torok. Now, the last time we saw Torok was in 2008, which I believe it was a remake of the original Torok, and it's been way too long since we've had another game like Dinosaur Hunter, or even the second one, which was awesome. And I just want to say that the last one that came out on GameCube was one of the bloodiest, goriest games I ever seen on the GameCube, but it was awesome to see, hey, we actually have a mature rated game that's actually bloody and somewhat terrifying on a GameCube. You know, everybody said the GameCube was the kids system or something like that. You know, I'm not getting into that. But anyways, this series desperately needs a reboot because, I mean, dinosaur hunting, I mean, come on, that's so sick. I know there are people that are going to be like, oh, don't kill animals and all this stuff, but it's a game, people, relax. But this game series needs a full makeover, reboot, and I would just love to see what they could do in terms of hunting dinosaurs and all the missions you got to do, even in Evolution. I thought Evolution was great. It was so much fun. The stealth level, and then you had the flying level, then you had, you know, all these different levels that were just so much fun and so awesome. They need to bring it back, and they need to just release awesomeness of Torok, because it's just like the coolest thing. How many people can just go hunting dinosaurs? I mean, that's just the coolest thing ever. So that's easily my number 5 pick. Alright, so for our number 4 spot, this is going to spark up a little bit more controversy, because I don't know how many people will agree with me on this one, but my number 4 spot is the Bomberman series. Now, our last release of Bomberman was in 2010 on the Xbox Live Arcade, and honestly, I don't know if I can even count that, because, I mean, I'm talking about the Bomberman of, like, Bomberman 64 and Bomberman 93. I'm talking about back in the 2000s and earlier type of Bomberman. And the reason why I say that is because Bomberman 64 is one of my favorite Bomberman games, and other than that, I want to say Bomberman 94. All I gotta say about that is addiction. Let me tell you that right now, because when you start playing that game, you want to beat it, and it's so difficult to beat, it's ridiculous. It is so much fun. I would love to see a reboot of the series where they had both of those 2D overhead styles, as well as the, I guess overhead still, but 3D style as well. I would love to see a reboot of the entire series and get back to that. I mean, think about it. You have other different characters that use bombs. Super Mario has bombs. You know, you got Zelda and Link uses bombs, but who uses bombs as like their primary method of everything? Nobody, except for Bomberman. I think it's awesome. He literally uses bombs for everything. To blow up walls, to open doors, to you jump on bombs and bounce on them. It's the coolest thing to have bombs as your primary weapon. You don't hear about that. You think of, okay, you got Castlevania's whip. You got Link's sword and tons of other swordsmen. You have, you know, all these different abilities, bows and arrows and everything, but bombs? You're just gonna just be like, oh, hey, I have an unlimited amount of bombs. Let me just throw them at people and kick them and jump on them and stuff. It's so cool. But anyways, a reboot of that series would be awesome to see, and that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Okay, so we're down to our 3rd spot here, and this one is tough because a lot of people won't call it a series. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's only been one game released for this series. But it was such a unique genre of the style of gaming that you had back then that it's got to be put as a separate series from its main area. And I'm talking too much. But number 3 is Pokemon Snap. Now, for those of you who saw my top 10 video of first-party Nintendo games that need to be released, yeah, I had Pokemon Snap in there as an HD remake and stuff like that. But this series needs a reboot because, I mean, we had one game released for it, and it was awesome, and it was so involved because they had the booths and everything that you could print out your own pictures, and there was just a ton of stuff in the game that you could get. You gotta try to collect all the pictures of all the Pokemon, and you had all these awesome levels. I would love to have a whole series based on that. And you wanna know what? I said that, you know, it'd be cool to have a remake of the original one. Yeah, that would be awesome, and I still want that. But to be able to have as many Pokemon as we have in our world nowadays at our disposal to take pictures of, you could literally start with the original 151 Pokemon and do an HD remake of that, and then go to Gold, Silver, Platinum. You could go through all of the different levels of Pokemon and re-release it with just those different sets of Pokemon, and have it sell millions. I don't know why they didn't keep going with it in the first place. Adding Pokemon to the game, adding Pokemon in terms of what you can take for pictures, so many more levels. I mean, Pokemon is such a huge industry. Why aren't they tapping into different markets of this game series? I mean, it's awesome. You got Sun and Moon coming out, which looks really cool. I'm really excited for it. And I love the original style of Pokemon where you actually travel around collecting the badges, collecting Pokemon. I love that whole thing. But in terms of gaming, you really don't have too much. You had the Pokemon stadiums, you had Pokken Tournament that just came out, which that game is unbelievable and it's awesome. I need to do a review of that specific game. But anyways, they need to get to more broader aspects of Pokemon and just stop releasing just this one style of game. I'm not saying to stop that style. Keep releasing those styles, but expand. Pokemon is one of the biggest franchises, not even just in gaming, in terms of anime and card collecting. People are still collecting cards. It's huge. Like, they could be making so much more money if they released a wider variety of games for this. And I know I'm going way too in depth here. So for our number 2 spot, we have one of the funniest, most ridiculous games ever to come out, and that is Earthworm Jim. Now, for those of you who have played the first and second Earthworm Jim, know what I'm talking about when I say this game is absolutely hilarious. 90% of the time, it makes no sense whatsoever, and the levels are just all over the place, and it's a comedy game. It's hilarious. It's so much fun. It's a perfect platformer. I love the physics of the game, and just the first 2 are just masterpieces. They took the first one, which was awesome, and then they made a second one that looks pretty similar, but with a couple of different features, and you had more guns, and they just brought the randomness to a whole new level. And then what happened? We went into 3D, and Earthworm Jim went down the tubes. Now, they've re-released like an HD or remake or remastered version of it in terms of like digital downloads and stuff like that, but they have yet to redo the series. I know back in 2006 they were talking about bringing the series to PSP, and I guess it was canceled because obviously we don't have another Earthworm Jim game coming out. But they need to forget about 3D, forget about HD, go with cartoony, go with 2D. You know what? They need to they saw what worked right, okay? And they just need to be like, this worked, let's just, there you go, double it. Make a more random, awesome game. Make it a 2D scroller. It doesn't matter. It's going to be awesome, okay? Nowadays, we don't care about 2D, 3D games. If you have games that are 2D, they will sell. Look at the new Super Mario series. It's 2D. It's awesome. It's so much fun. It sells. Look at Super Mario Maker, topping out at almost 7 million levels made by everybody all over the world. 2D is in right now, because people hold on to nostalgia. I think that this would be a perfect time, a perfect opportunity to throw in an awesome reboot of Earthworm Jim. And I just want to say, let's not forget about the first 2 games, okay? Usually when you say reboot, that means forget the whole series and start over. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just bring the series back. It needs to come back. It's such an awesome series. I still play Earthworm Jim 1 and 2, and I love it. Back during the 16-bit wars, when they had Sega Genesis and Nintendo, both games were always going back and forth. Which one's better on which console? It doesn't matter nowadays. Just put out the game, put out an awesome reboot, make it funny, make it ridiculous, go crazy with it. Just bring it back. I mean, come on. Okay, so we're down to our number 1 spot, and I just want to say that this series has been coming out since the 80s, and honestly, we had to bend some rules here. So the last game to come out in terms of this series was in 2012, and they talked about making another game or something like that, and it was canceled, and they're talking about it again. But this series is the 007 series. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of one game. Just one game. And everybody knows what game that is. It is Goldeneye 64. Okay? Now, okay. Goldeneye was released again, and everybody knows my feeling on it. I think that if they went back to that Goldeneye kind of style of gaming again, in terms of, you know, the single player campaign and the multiplayer, I think that if they caught that and rebooted it from there, you're looking at a billion-dollar franchise. Okay? There are people that still say, including myself, that GoldenEye 64 is the best first-person shooter ever made. And I will stand by that statement forever, because there's nothing that will beat that in my opinion. I think it's one of the most perfect, well-balanced games ever to come out, and it needs to go back to that stage, because every other GoldenEye that I played, even the sequel to GoldenEye 64, it was terrible. They're all awful. Okay, every one that I've ever played after was terrible. Get back to GoldenEye 64. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going in depth about it. You guys know how awesome of a game it was. You know how I feel about the game. That's it. I'm done. Let's move on. We'll see ya.